Okay, everybody, welcome back. We have another very special guest today, Joe Lima, the president of PFLAG Cape Cod. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Kelly. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So PFLAG Cape Cod is a new partner for the center as we are moving towards a new strong movement towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if people are watching at home and they may not be familiar with that, I want to kind of start from the beginning, and I want to talk about the organization and really kind of what that may look like and really kind of just what everything is about, and just I kind of want you to tell us everything.
I will tell you as much as I can. I'm happy to.
Yes.
I mean, I am definitely not a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist or a DEI specialist, but at least, you know, in terms of how PFLAG and PFLAG Cape Cod kind of fits into that picture, you know, we bring a particular, I guess, demographic into the broader conversation. And, you know, our organization represents LGBTQ plus people. That would be, for those of you at home, LGBTQ plus generally means people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning. And the plus is for people who kind of fall even outside of that, you know, whether it's intersex, asexual, two-spirit, which is more of a Native American concept. But so we are bringing that community into the broader conversations taking place around the country. So I guess that's where the diversity comes in, as well as the inclusion and equity. So in terms of that community being represented and discussed about
Absolutely. More. And I know that, you know, you were mentioning that at the heart of the organization is support groups, and that is what has brought PFLAG into DECAL, and it's something that we want to have, you know, especially maybe grandparents or older adults that may be intergenerationally with maybe grandchildren or
Exactly.
in their home. So I want to talk maybe about some of these groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you like, I can also take a quick moment to give maybe a little bit of history or background on what PFLAG even is.
Yes, let's start there.
Okay, so I brought a book called The Mother of a Movement. So I'm gonna, it's a children's book.
And did you draw these pictures?
I would love to take credit for it, Kelly, but I'm afraid I did not. My artistic skills are not that advanced. But anyways, that book is, like I said, it's like a children's book, but it's basically talking about the history of PFLAG, which starts primarily with a mother. Her name was Jean Manford. Now, Jean Manford, back in 1972, she received a call from the hospital telling her that her gay son, Morty, had been beaten up at a gay rights protest. And she was very upset to hear that the police had stood by and done nothing while he and a few others were being, you know, beaten up. So she was really upset about this, and she wrote a letter to the newspaper, and I believe it was the New York Post that published it in 1972. And then she then took and basically the letter was just expressing her outrage over what had happened, and also very publicly in a newspaper, not article, but a letter to the editor, describing her support of her gay son. Remember, this is 1972, 52 plus years ago. And that was really unheard of for a parent to be like openly supportive. So anyways, long story short, a few months go by, she then marches with Morty in one of the first, what we now call pride parades, but at that time they were called the Christopher Street Liberation Day March, which were being held annually since 1969 or since 1970 to commemorate the Stonewall riots that happened in 1969. A lot of background, sorry about it. But anyways, so she's marching in this parade with Morty carrying a sign saying, "Parents unite in support of your gay and lesbian children." Once again, publicly walking down a main street, a large street in New York City. During the parade, people, a lot of lesbian and gay people, approached Jean and asked her to talk to their parents, who were not nearly as supportive as she was being with her son. So she realized that there was a real need for some kind of a support group for parents of gay and lesbian people to gather, to talk about their concerns, talk about the lack of understanding, a desire to accept or make sense of it all. So about a year later, in March, I think, of 1973, she, along with other parents, started the very first support group. At that time, the organization, I think, was just called Parents of Gays. I don't even know, to be sure. But then over the years, as more and more of these support groups started popping up around the country because of community need and through word of mouth, all of these different support groups decided to like kind of unify under an organization nationally, which at that time was called, I believe, PFLAG, which at the time stood for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. And then over the years, more chapters started forming around the country, creating these support groups where parents and family members, as well as LGBTQ plus people, could meet to talk about, issues of acceptance, understanding, and love. And then in 1989, a chapter was formed on Cape Cod, PFLAG Cape Cod. So we've been around for close to 35 years, which is pretty amazing. And now we offer monthly support meetings online once a month, virtually I should say, online once a month, in person once a month in Brewster. And now we are starting a hybrid Portuguese language support meeting beginning in May. We've actually had in-person Portuguese language support meetings since last May, but now we're going hybrid next month, which is exciting, or in May.
Yes, kind of ties into our theme of what we are going towards in the center of our Portuguese respite program. But, this is so exciting. But I wanted, how did you get involved with PFLAG? Because this is I'm totally following along with her whole movement. What a pioneer, number one, out there. A mother, that is what it's
who was supporting
mother,
her child.
Absolutely.
Very publicly.
And, just all the other parents out there who were going through this probably alone, thinking maybe nobody else was, but, she, just what an amazing story. And then it just nationwide, and it's still going to this day, a success story.
Exactly. And there are close to, I think it's around 400 chapters all over the country, just in different places. And our Cape Cod chapter, we basically, represent Cape Cod and the islands. So, and then there's a chapter closer to Boston, that's like the greater Boston area. And then.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So how did Mr. Joe, I need to know the story, how you got involved.
I'm a gay man. And when I was in college back in the late 80s, I came out at that time, like halfway through my college career. But I was not yet out to my family. So when I would come home for summer break or winter, I was firmly back in the closet. I was still living at home. I eventually graduated from college in 1991. A few months later, I met someone who would eventually become my husband, and to whom I'm married now. Anyway, but when we first met, I was still not out to my family. A few months later, though, I decided to come out to my brothers, my two older brothers and older sister, and they were both very accepting and supportive. But we realized that mom and dad were not yet quite ready for me to come out to them about this. So I held off a little while. And in the meantime, I learned about an organization called PFLAG. And I discovered that there was actually a chapter that had support meetings on Cape Cod. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start going to some of these meetings so I can see what some of these parents are like, who are going there for their own support. And to get a sense of kind of take a temperature of what the parent experience is like when a child of theirs comes out as lesbian or gay.
So this is kind of an opposite perspective. You were going in as a child, trying to see what it would be like.
22, let's just, but I know what you mean. The child of,
as to get that child.
A non-parent.
A perspective to see kind of what they were feeling.
Yeah.
This is so fascinating.
Yeah, because to me, I wanted to get a sense of, first of all, kind of warm up in a sense for the coming out conversation that I knew I needed to have with my parents. So talking to other parents and hearing their stories, how did their kids come out to them? What was it like for them? Was really helpful for me to kind of start to kind of prepare myself for the eventual conversation. And the parents were really supportive and they're very patient and encouraging. And I wasn't the only gay person that went to the meetings. There might be another person here or there because, although the meetings might be geared specifically for parents or family members to learn to accept and understand their loved one, it's also helpful for me as a gay man when I was that age to kind of talk about these things in a safe and supportive environment and feel a sense of affirmation and support and reinforcement and from these parents and other people. So anyways, about a year or so later, I did write a letter and I gave it to my parents, and that was how I came out to them. And although it did not go particularly well initially, over time as they became more and more familiar and accustomed with the idea that their son is a gay man, and noticing that I haven't changed at all in any way, I'm still the same person. This is just something else that they now know about me. And then eventually, obviously, getting to meet my then boyfriend and developing a nice relationship with him. And now we are just as close to my now mom. My father passed away, but we are so super close to my mom, and she with me and my husband. And I know that we would not be nearly as close as we are had I not ever come out to them. So it was a great opportunity to have this really honest conversation and honest and genuine relationship with the people that I love.
And PFLAG was a vital piece to your story of being able to facilitate coming out.
Yeah, it was absolutely vital. I mean, if I had never learned of PFLAG or never had gone to a support meeting, I'm sure I would have at some point kind of figured out I need to figure out how to come out to my parents. But it was nice to have the groundwork laid for me that way. And so I was involved with the organization back in the early to mid 90s for 2 to 3 years, just kind of going to support meetings. I think I may have even helped out at an event or something. But then I kind of, backed out, John and I moved in together. We built a life together. I just kind of I was in my 20s, so I was preoccupied with job and all this stuff. So I figured the organization, it served its purpose for that point in my life.
Right.
So I pretty much got uninvolved. And then it was around maybe 2015, and I thought, I've got some time on my hands. I think it's time for me to kind of give back as a volunteer to some kind of an organization. And I thought, why not PFLAG? So I decided to get involved. I started going back to some of the meetings. And I was thinking naively at that time that my story as an out and proud and, happy, well-adjusted gay man would be like helpful conversation to have with the other parents. And it was, but I realized when I first started going back to the meetings in 2015 that the conversation had really shifted to transgender people coming out. And the majority of the parents and family members going to those support meetings in 2015 were there because they had a transgender child or a loved one or family member, and they were just they were struggling with how to understand and accept this new information about them. So since then, I've learned an awful lot about the trans community, and I've met some absolutely amazing transgender people who have been so inspirational and brave and have taught me so much. And I still have a lot to learn, but I've learned an awful lot since then.
Absolutely. I think, we're all learning, and that's definitely something that we want everyone to know, that it's for everyone to learn, and, it's
part of growing.
Absolutely.
We're constantly learning new things, whether it's a new language or learning new recipes. And it's, learning about how other people might be. What is it that's unique about them? And then learning about them so that it doesn't seem so foreign or scary or othered.
Right. It's okay to ask these questions and to talk about these things. And we are learning, and that's how we evolve over time.
Exactly. Because if we don't try to understand these things, whether it's this or other issues, then we remain ignorant of them, and then we don't grow, and our society just becomes, I think, even more fractured.
Right, because just how many years ago was this?
52 years ago.
52 years ago, she was just the mother with the sign, and then now fast forward 50 years, if we're not willing to learn or to ask questions because we're nervous, then we don't grow and evolve. And I think that is definitely what we want to do. And that is going back to my original statement of that the movement towards, the diversity, equity, inclusion is that's what we're aiming for. So, if you're watching at home and you may be feeling like, I'm older and this is something I've heard of a topic and it makes me uncomfortable. I was talking to Joe before we started the interview, and I said, I take care of my grandparents, and they're 90 and 91. And when, a subject of diversity, equity, inclusion comes up, they are like, that's not my generation. And I'm like, but why, And I try to open the conversation. And that's what I think that this is really about, and something that we want to bring into the center, that it's okay to ask questions, and we want to bring this.
Yes, exactly. It's important to ask. Not only is it okay, but it's important to ask questions so that you don't formulate incorrect answers in your mind.
Yes.
My mother is 87 and a half. I don't know why I round things up to
Yeah.
halves, but she's 87. And, you know, our family came to this country when I was 5.5 years old. So my parents bring, you know, a cultural and religious background to their experience that would have been, that initially made it very challenging for them to kind of wrap their minds around the fact that they have a gay son
Right.
who is in a relationship, who eventually got married. But if they can do it, and my dad is 5 years older than my mother before he passed away, then anyone can do it. I mean, an 87-year-old person with limited, you know, knowledge of English, limited education, cultural and religious background that is very, very different. You know, she, because of love, was able to wrap her mind around this because she loves her son so much, and it was more important for her to understand, and for both my parents, to kind of wrap their minds around this and learn to understand and accept it and have a healthy relationship with their child, rather than refuse to accept it, push it away, and in turn push me away.
Absolutely.
And because of that, we have an amazing relationship.
Absolutely.
Amazing relationship. Honesty.
So PFLAG with the support groups, what can you tell me a little bit more about what you all are offering on, you know, Cape Cod?
Yeah. As I mentioned, we have 3 that we host a month. The in-person one we host in Brewster at First Parish Brewster Unitarian Universalist, and that's on the 3rd Monday of every month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And basically, it's an opportunity for people, whether it's parents, family members, allies, LGBTQ plus people, to come in. We have resources available, like some that I brought here today, and basically just go around the circle and share and talk about our experiences. And we remind people that we are a support group. We are not a therapy group. We're not therapists. We're here to basically share our own problem-solving experiences, what has worked for us in terms of understanding, you know, our child or loved one, and how our journey has evolved, so that other people who are just entering this journey on their own don't feel so isolated, don't feel so alone, and don't feel so scared, you know? So it's incredibly powerful to witness somebody coming to the meeting who's just distraught. You know, they've just learned that they have a 20-year-old child who for 20 years they've known as, you know, Sam, let's just say. Suddenly, to the parents it's sudden, Sam now, you know, goes by Samantha maybe, whatever, or a different name. And the parents are struggling because to them this is brand new. So they go to this meeting to learn and, you know, get more information, learn about these issues. And while they're there, there's another parent who maybe was in the same place 3 or 4 years before. That parent has come so far because they've learned a lot. They've asked the questions, they've read, they've grown so much that now that parent is an incredible support system for the one who just joined. And that peer-to-peer, parent-to-parent, family member to family member is incredibly powerful and very, very moving to see that kind of evolution of scared, struggling, to secure, proud, supportive. So that's in general what the meetings are about. And like I said, in person and virtual. And like I said, next month we begin our hybrid, in person and online, a Portuguese language support meeting, which I do co-facilitate at Latinx in Action in Hyannis. So, and I do want to say, you know, I brought a bunch of
many goodies. This is my new favorite guest. Bought me so many presents.
But I will say, at the very least, you know, we make all of our resource booklets available at the meetings. For example, this one is called Our Children. It's basically questions and answers for loved ones of LGBTQ plus people. So if you're a parent or a loved one and you've got questions, boom, you take this home, you know, over the course of like the weekend, and you can learn an awful lot. Other things, you know, whether it's helping young people and be yourself, you know, answer questions that they may have, so that if you don't feel like they don't feel like they have to always ask an adult or someone else. They can get their questions answered through this book. Our trans loved ones, faith in our families. If faith is something that is, you know, going to be an issue for you in terms of learning to accept an LGBTQ loved one in your family, this is a very helpful booklet as well. If you're in the military, At Ease, you know, things like that. Guide to being a trans ally, guide to being a straight ally. If you want to just be a general, like, if you're a person who's straight and you just want to support the LGBTQ plus community and you just don't know how, it's like lots of useful information, but probably the one that's the most beneficial for your viewers and the people at Decal is this one that came out 2 years ago, called Supporting Your LGBTQ plus Grandchild. It's super simple. It's only a couple of pages, but it gives you really, really helpful general information so that if you're somebody who didn't grow up with these conversations taking place, it gives you a lot of insight so that if you have a grandchild, or if you have a friend who has a grandchild who's, you've recently learned is trans or lesbian, gay, or non-binary, whatever, this is so, so helpful, and it's not at all overwhelming. It's just enough information to kind of, educate you without overwhelming you. So
if someone is watching at home and they are totally like, I need all these books or just one, like I need them all, but
sure.
Where do they get them? Are they online? Is there a location?
Well, we try to make this as easy as possible. Whenever our group, or whenever PFLAG Cape Cod has a table at a community event, for example, this past weekend, the YMCA held their Healthy Kids Day event. We had a table there. We make all of our booklets free. Our chapter purchases them from our parent organization,
Okay.
PFLAG National, which is located in Washington, D.C. We purchase all of these booklets, and then we make them available for free. So you can get them at community events, you can get them at our in-person support meetings in Brewster, but we also have on our website, if you go to pflagcapecod.org, along the top you'll see, home and all these other things. The resources menu tab, below that is submenus, and one will say resources, PFLAG booklets. Click that little button and it'll take you to the page that has all of these booklets available for free. We will ship them to you for free, no cost. That's single copies of
Right.
titles. If you wanted 10 copies of this, then we would direct you towards PFLAG National and order it more in
Right.
bulk. But yeah, we want to make it as easy
Right.
and basically free or cost effective for people to get this information in their hands because it's incredibly important and helpful.
Amazing. This is
It is.
Yes.
But we're able to do all of this, provide these resources at no cost to people because of the incredible generosity of our members and supporters. They see what we do, they see how important and valuable it is, and they really want us to succeed in achieving that.
Now, if someone is watching at home and they think this is really speaking to me, and
Yeah.
I want to talk to somebody, or I have more questions,
Sure.
What can they do?
Well, if they just want to kind of just start a conversation, and let's just say they're not quite ready to go to a support meeting, because
Right.
for some people that is kind of a big leap to
Yep.
begin with, I would say visit our website.
Okay.
Go to pflagcapecod.org.
Okay.
A ton of information that you can learn from. Kind of get your feet wet, get your bearings, and then when you feel you're ready to kind of reach out, you can certainly just
Yep.
use the little contact form on the website
Absolutely.
and reach out. I am actually the one who receives that email, and just say what you're reaching out about. I just
Absolutely.
learned that a loved one is this or that. I don't know what to do. What should give me some ideas. At some point, I will say I encourage you to attend one of our support meetings because that's really a great first step or second step for some people in terms of learning more information, getting support that they really, really need. So that's what I would say. Get in touch with us. Go to our website. Go to a support meeting. Go to an event where you think we might be present. And,
Call the center.
Call
us.
Call Decal, and they can point you in the right direction. Definitely.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is
Yeah.
amazing information, resources
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah. And I apologize for interrupting. This is a kind of a new one that we just created last year. It's actually 2 years ago. It's called "This is a Safe Space and You Are Welcome." This was actually created about 2 years ago for when our chapter hosted a symposium for school teachers and educators on how to best support LGBTQ plus children in their schools. And a lot of teachers were really, really drawn to that sign because it's a great, it's small, it's only 5 by 7. They can tack it to their office door, their office bulletin board, or, their classroom wall or whatever. And that sends a signal to any of the children that are in that classroom or in that school that this teacher is a safe person and that I can just be myself
Right.
around. It sends a signal to people around them. So we make those available as well as our rack cards or
on the
brochures
website?
on the website. Exactly. So all of the stuff is here. We're happy to give it away. We even give away, our Progress Pride flags when we're at events. So it's really, really
Yes,
cool.
you guys got all the merch.
Yeah, I'm not going to come here empty-handed. Oh, and by the way, just so you notice, this is what we now call our pronoun pins or pronoun buttons. I'm wearing one that says he, him. It's basically a way of identifying or pronouncing what your gender identity is. In other words, I identify as male, so I use he, him pronouns. If I were, for example, if you identify as a female, you would wear she, her pronoun. Obviously, you don't go around wearing these every day, all the time. But if we're at an event, or a conference, or something, at a meeting, and you really want to set the tone or, make it clear to the people around you that not only is this my gender identity, but I'm kind of sending a signal to anyone else who might be around me who might not necessarily identify as he or she, but might be somewhere in the middle. They might be trans or non-binary, where they don't quite feel like 100% male, 100% female. They see this pin and they know that they've got someone in their corner, because I'm sympathetic, I understand, I get where they're coming from. So I'm kind of a safe person to that person who might be in a crowded space with no one else wearing a pin like this. So anyways, we make these available. The young generation loves these pins. They scoop them up
They're
for
popular.
For free.
We're going to have to get some pins.
We're going to have to send you some pins, Kelly. We're going to have to come up with a way. But generally, at any kind of event that we are tabling at, those pins are there. And we're going to come up with a couple of others that say, like, I love my LGBTQ plus child.
This is amazing.
Basically, the tagline, I guess, is that what you call it? I think the tagline for PFLAG is leading with love. And our mission is to create a caring, just, and affirming world for LGBTQ plus people and those who love them. But to lead with love is just such a powerful statement, and it's so simple, but it really is the message.
I think this has been amazing. I feel I have learned so much.
Oh, and we could talk for hours.
I could keep going. If they would give me more time, I could just keep going.
You're going to have to edit this down.
I hope that our viewers at home have really learned a lot. And if there was anybody out there that was needing a resource or anything, please know that they are out there and we are here. And PFLAG, we're ready.
We are ready.
We were ready. And I don't know, Joe, if you have anything else that we forgot to mention or to touch on that you wanted to add.
I think we touched on everything. Like I said, all of these resources are available on our website, PFLAG booklets, or at our in-person events. We have our rack cards over there, which, when people come to our table at an event, if they leave with nothing, we try to make sure they at least leave with one of those, because the back side of it really gives you a lot of really helpful information, a little bit of our history, what our mission is, what we do. We offer scholarships to graduating high school seniors. We have a podcast series, which is amazing. A bunch of other things. I can't remember them all, but they're on the back of the card there.
Get a card and you'll know. Well,
Exactly.
We are very excited to have you as a new partner at Decal, and a very, very special thank you for joining me today.
You are very welcome, and it's a pleasure to be a partner of Decal, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.